I'm audible now. So very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Arvind Vohra. I look after retail branch banking, and I, along with my friends Sampath and Smita, will talk about how we have been working around building the customer franchise, how we manage the life cycle, and yes, some of the interesting questions that came up Sashi's way on retail liabilities. And we'll talk about three things fundamentally. What is our strategy? Our strategy is very simple. What has that strategy delivered, and what is our ambition? Yeah. And each of our strategic elements, I'll try and focus only on very simple aspect of what is the real competitive advantage that we're trying to build. I know there were a lot of questions in the morning, physical versus digital, and so on and so forth, and we're going to address all of them proactively. And any questions, most welcome as we sort of build on the presentation. So first of all, the presentation is all about simple strategy, immaculate execution, and big ambition. The key elements of our strategy is when we look at our branches, we just don't look at branches putting up. When I 4 years back, we used to discuss that how do you set up new branches. You talk about, every cluster head can set up 1 or 2 and so on and so forth. But we have built a very scientific approach, a distribution planning tool through which we plan what kind of branch we build, right? And there's not one kind of branch, and I'll say multi-format distribution science that you're building into it. The complete science of how a distribution-oriented company would do, a retail company would do, right? And I say retail company, it fundamentally means the chromas and the trends and so on and so forth of the word, so that you figure out where you're going to get the maximum revenue per square feet, EBITDA per square feet, and also build the brand value and the competitive advantage. What is our approach of managing customer cycle? In the morning we were discussing about raising liabilities. I actually have a slightly different view of these words. Liabilities are not raised, they come. Assets are raised. Assets are sourced. Liability is very difficult, to say that, okay, you give me 5 lakh rupees, why? For what reason? Right? You give it because you have trust. You give it because there's neighborhood trust. You give it because, your processes are simple. You're happy with the service, right? Or you are predictively understanding customer needs and solving them, right? So we'll talk about that. Some of this is really the reason that our strategy has worked, right? And that's something that I'm going to talk about. Analytics-driven conversations. Why? Why is AI important? So that we can predict customer needs proactively rather than even asking for it, right? Service first culture, that's the fundamental. Enabling phygital transformation. So when we think of branch and digital, we sometimes think of two things. It's physical versus digital is a global debate that's going on. Our view is that both are going to be important and both are going to converge into each other. So it's going to be about digital rendering in a physical world, right? And bringing the humanization impact while dealing with digitization. Both are going to be important. I'm sure we understand the emotive value of any brand, any relationship, and that's the real anchor of our phygital transformation. Some of the growth segments, rural employee banking, I'll talk about. So we no longer call our salary team as salary, we call it employee banking, and there's a reason for recasting it that way. And government, something that's what I will talk about. What have we delivered? 2x retail CASA in last 3 years, and 1.9x retail CASA TD in last 3 years. Now 3 years back, if somebody told you, whatever HDFC Bank has achieved in 24 years, we're going to achieve exactly the same thing in 3 years from now, in 2019, right? And today what we want to tell you is that we've achieved that. But this is the retail deposit side of the picture. This is not the overall deposits of the bank, because the corporate deposits also part of that, and that's a different segment, the different challenges and opportunities there, something we covered in the morning. But retail deposits, we have doubled in the last 3 years, right? From about 5,50,000 to over 10,50,000, 75,000, which means that whatever bank did in 24 years, we achieved that in the last 3 years. And our bet today is exactly the same. We are going to further double it in 3.5 years. Give and take few months. I'm sure you will pardon us for that, right? So message is, we have a credible strategy in place. We have doubled in last 3 years, or 3 years, maybe 2 months, because it's 1.9x on CASA TD, right? And we're going to double in next 3.5 years. As simple as that. And we go into each of these elements of strategy, some videos, so that you get a really poignant view of what is really happening. And there's no acronym in the whole presentation. Try to keep it very simple. Strategies are simple as long as we sort of talk about them in a simple manner. But before we talk about liabilities, let's talk about our customer franchise. Any fintech, any services player, be it telecom, be it banking, be it financial services, insurance. What is the core fundamental strength, competitive advantage of any company? The customer base that you have, and how happy is the customer base? Simple. number of customers you have, number of customers you are acquiring, and how happy you are keeping them. What are you getting out of them, isn't it? So look at our growth. 4.4 million customers we used to acquire in a year 3 years back. Last year we acquired 8.28. Our next ambition now is to acquire 1 million a month. I think that should be happening roughly about 15 months from now. Could be few months earlier, could be few months later. Million a month means 12 million a year. That's the next milestone, and we're not going to stop there. But look at the impact on values. If our unit growth have grown up by 1.9x, the new customer acquisition value has grown by 2.1x. Because the natural question will come to your mind is that, hey, you're acquiring customers, what are you doing with them? What are they giving to you? Right? Last year we acquired the new customer acquisition value of a whopping 71,950 crores. That's not the liability size book of 60% of banks in this country. And our ambition there is to, when we take it to 12 million, we are talking about 1 lakh crore new acquisition value alone. That is just one of the funnels. You ask this question, where is this liability going to come from? It's going to come from this new acquisition value, it's going to come from a change in base, it's going to come from our partnerships. I'll talk about all the funnels. This is one of them. But this is fundamental because this is where the customer is born. This is where the seed is. When the seed will grow, we'll have the fruits. And we'll have all kinds of fruits. We'll have apples, oranges, and everything. All the retail assets is what I mean, and all the business banking assets is what I mean. Because the strategy is to talk in combination, not talk in silo. We don't acquire liabilities customer, we're going, hey, I want your liability relationship. That's not how liability sales happen. Right? So how do we do? What is the competitive advantage? Before I get there on the life cycle part, let me talk to you about our distribution strategy. This is the map you see, branches that we have set up, 50% rural, this is all there. What you have not seen so far is the right side of it. When we see branches, okay, for HDFC Bank, please stop thinking brick and mortar. My humble request to each one of you. When we think visual branches, it's a sales and service setup with digital rendering of the services. What is non-digital is only the humanization part. So you'd see at the bottom, digitization plus humanization, superior customer experience. This is a strategy of the branch. The word is a branch. For us, it's nothing like a branch or office. Actually, office is a wrong name for it. The right name is, it's my consumer-facing store. And I have two stores as a bank. I have website, net banking, which is my digital store, and I have a physical store, which may have walls, right? But there my rendering is digital as well, right? And we're going to talk about that. Plus, we are looking at small formats, and even in this expansion plan that 2250 that you see, a lot of that is phygital formats. First of all, I'll explain by that. Gold, all of them gold loan enabled, rural salience, because that's where the big opportunity is. And the other formats that we worked upon is smart banking lobbies and digital banking units, right? We are setting up 4 pilots right now, and what we are putting in the digital banking units is, like you, all of us have heard about ATMs, right? Automated teller machines. So we are putting up ACMs, automated care machines, which will have service, care, because, finally care is the fundamental aspect before you get into pay, save, invest and insure, right? All banks talk about that. But finally, if the care will take a precedent, then everything else will flow from there. So we're putting up an ACI, we're putting up tabs with walkout working journeys and so on and so forth, something that I'll talk through in my coming slide. And then the BCs, which is what Smita will touch upon, but hub and spoke with the branches and the DBUs and so on and so forth, right? So strategy here is digitization plus humanization, combination of the two, helping us deliver a competitive advantage in the way we're doing it. And this is the science which is multi-formatted science, identified through a very, very scientific basis, not just the bureau data or the per capita data or the RBI deposit size, but we look at delinquencies, we look at fastest return where we'll get. We look at places of interest. So every cluster head would typically have a Google map. You see this district of in Rajasthan, where the 3 colors that you see is high, medium, low potential. So you will actually zoom in into this, you click this, one of the high potential pin codes, you get into places of interest information, where it will tell you that in Google Maps, when we do Uber and Ola, we know that, it shows where the university, where is the community, where is the traffic, high and low traffic and so on and so forth. We use that analysis to find out what exact micro market I should have a branch or a smart banking lobby or a digital banking unit. That's the level of granularity of science we're building it into, right? We just opened a branch in Kelong. We were skeptical about opening branches. 500 crore market, first private sector bank to enter. When Sashi traveled there, he inaugurated it, right? 2 years time, we'll easily build up a 50 crore franchise. Deputy Commissioner came along with Sashi to inaugurate it because they were just so happy. They have all cash crops like mushroom and broccoli, which are sold at good prices, right? They have a good highway now connecting them. This 50 crore would not come if you're not present in that district, right? And the litmus test is, we have a benchmark of 2 to 3 years of breaking even. But because of this science, we are breaking even within 12 to 24 months, more than 55% of branches. And some of them are breaking even, by the way, in 9 to 10 months as well, right? It's all happening because the science is granular of what we set up. The second part of our strategy is how we manage the customer life cycle. When we look at a branch, again, first request that I made is don't look at a brick and mortar. Look at it as, second request is don't look at it as inbound. Branch is not at all meant for only inbound. In fact, that's the least it is meant for, because we don't want people to come in for transactions. That should happen digitally. We want people, if at all they come in for financial conversations, the value that we add to them, right? Branch is a sales and service setup that looks at a catchment, looks at every important customer to be mapped, right? And when I say every important customer, we have these 10 segments: education, healthcare, localized industries, merchant and traders, rural. So every branch would map customers, which is 300, 400, 500 customers, tag them. There are conversion plans being made, potential being dimensioned, and then when we approach them, we don't approach them for liability. Typically, a BM would approach a customer, map it, understand its needs, then he'll get an RTFX guy, retail trade and forex guy, which is also part of retail branch banking, maybe an EGBBG guy, right? Or credit card guy, and then they will offer holistic set of solutions to that customer, because you are giving the customer the fundamental value proposition of HDFC Bank's value, right? Then the customer relationship starts, and typically the relationship will start with liability. So it comes as a process of our demonstrating our complete end-to-end value proposition to him. So doing the catchment scoping, need-based customer conversations, welcome, immerse, nourish, right? So every customer, we call him within 7 days. We're putting processes of a 30-day and 90-day engagements, right? And when we do that, we are doing it through analytics now, which is what we call next best action. So what is next best action really, and how does it help in the life cycle? In the morning, I think we were doing a lot of discussion on analytics in underwriting and credit side, and we talked about humongous number of pre-approved offers, right? But do you think any pre-approved offer means that customer may actually need them? What do you think? For example, we may have I'm just exaggerating to make a point, Mr. Mukesh Ambani may have a pre-approved offer for a personal loan. Do you think he needs it? Yes or no? Answer is intuitive, isn't it? Right? So what this does is, this brings us the intersection of credit worthiness, which is one lens, propensity and intent. It meshes them together. Ravi Santaram, our CMO, and his analytics team is my partner in crime, and of course Sampath and all of us work together to do this. But when you combine these three things, credit worthiness, propensity and intent. Propensity means you're looking at surrogates that he or she may need that product. Intent is, the customer was surfing over auto loan day before yesterday, and a call goes to him in 24 hours, hey, that's what you're looking at, could we look at? And we have examples where customer, hey, how did you know that I'm looking for an auto loan? The customer is surprised. We call that initiative immediate NBA. So NBA is a big brand right now, and we have layers of it: incredible NBA, immediate NBA, where some of these intersections happen, which is helping us drive the productivity. You see some numbers here, where how the productivity is getting driven. And okay, let me show you a sample of this. I hope this works. So this is the kind of screen the RM looks at, both Sampath's virtual RM and my branch RM, and it's not limited to just product and service products. It starts with service. And I'm going to talk about the service first culture. If a customer hasn't made a nomination in his account, do you think we'll help the customer by advising him, please do nomination? Because we all know in this country how much money in the DEF accounts, finally get paid back to the RBI, no claimants. Not just in banking, but mutual fund industry, every industry that we talk about. Painful thing to see, right? So whether it is Form 15G, 15H, re-KYC, nomination details, all of them are part of, the service NBA is what we call it. Along with service NBA, then you have credit cards and other propositions. And then you also have, for example, this is the kind of a screen that an RM will look like. And he is not only looking at the intervention, where a personal loan could be an option because of these 7 times higher chances, but it will also give him the narrative and the causation. That is the level of granularity we advise our RMs. And if this does not work, there is a feedback loop back to my analytics team in Ravi's team and Sunil Mathur's team, which looks at that feedback loop, and that feedback loop itself from the RM improves the AI engine. so that the engine keeps becoming better and better as we go through. And we believe that we are building a serious comparative advantage here, mixing up the credit part, the propensity part, and the intent part. And not just on this, we looked at the new acquisition value, and I don't know if many of you would know who track the banks that the change in base, the book size, there's a NAV new acquisition part, and then there's a change in base part, right? Different banks may have different names for it, but the change in base typically never moves. It goes up by 2% or goes down by 2%. Typically remains flattish for most banks. For us, it was also the same 3 years back. But again, we have put through analytics enablers, predictive loss of relationship, attrited loss of relationship, self-transfer, this thing. It look at surrogates, loan rejection, low balance. We have seen that if we reject a loan of somebody, our balances in the relationship starts to drop. So what is the kind of intervention we do there? So that is a predictive loss of relationship. Then we have self-transfers. Self-transfer and vendor outflow mitigation. Somebody is transferring to his family or friends or to his other, within same bank to a different bank, from HDFC to ICICI or PNB or whatever that may be. How do we engage with that customer using narratives so that we mitigate that flow, right? And we, for last 2 years consistently, while year one could be attributed to the COVID-led inflows also, but last year also, 4.8 million customer conversation, 91% engagement, 48% of these customers built balances where we had conversations, right? And an incremental value of almost 16,000 crore by the end of the year. It's a 2-month cycle on which we operate. You see some of the sample of this as well, in terms of, there is a self-transfer case and customer has a loan outside HDFC Bank. So it gives us 2 opportunities to talk about. Shift his loan back, right, if you take it over, but also get the opportunity to build liabilities balances, right? So all that I'm trying to say is that liabilities is an outcome. Good health is an outcome of this thing. There's no tablet that you take and balances start to grow. It's this holistic approach, and maybe a little bit ambiguous and complex, but if you master it, then it becomes a competitive advantage. And that's what we have tried to build, and that's the engine Sashi was referring to in the morning. Then is the relationship management architecture. Sampath will talk about the virtual side. Largest relationship program in the country, right? And 13.5 million as part of our relationship management architecture. We have not only Imperia, Preferred, Classic as our key programs. At the top end now we are adding 5 crore plus relationships Infinity. And for semi-urban and rural we are looking at differentiated programs. Do you think in rural people will understand what this word Imperia means? Yeah? Yes or no? Intuitive, isn't it? That's why this vertical that we set up, that's the kind of discussion with our product team they are doing. Maybe they'll understand Vishesh, they will understand Vishisht, but it's not just about the name. It's about the kind of elements you pack into from a segment perspective, agri inputs, soil testing stuff, right? And those kind of things, which is relevant for that segment. You saw a segment focused approach, those 10 segments, which have further 83 segments on my catchment scoping slide. That is going to be getting married with segment focused propositions, right? That's also something else. So something that, both me and Ravi, my partner in crime, we have been, exposed in big way in the consumer marketing companies that we work with. But that's another thing that we're bringing to banking. Virtual RMs, strategic program for us, expanding our reach, really giving us a multiplier effect. But fundamentally, service first is the most important anchor of our relationship management architecture. Because if we have the right service, if we are proactive, right, then everything flows on top of it. In absence of that, nothing is as important. So just a brief glimpse of how we are making our relationship management architecture, the key DNA, really as a service first culture. A minute video on this. are on this journey, and I must share with you, our MD Sashi is driving this with a lot of inspiration. When I started this journey, we started with things like as simple as how do we get bankers to smile? It's too cold, I mean, sometimes. Especially in a customer-facing scenario, while here it is professional, but I think why can't we as good as Oberoi Hotels, from a hospitality point of view? End of the day, we are a service industry. We sell trust, isn't it? So trust is a function of our financials and the capital adequacy and all that stuff, but it's also about what's our body language. We started from there, and last 1 year, I must share with you, Sashi reads every single customer email from A to Z. Something that I thought I used to be good at, but he is broken, I think, some new records. He will read, send it to Sampath, Smita, me, many of us, be it asset, be it any product category. So I think we really have he's really championing this cause. We genuinely believe in this journey. We implemented the Infinite Smiles program also. It's the same net promoter thing, score thing that you would have heard about. And we implement that as a Smile score. So every branch, every virtual teams, they get and other parts of the bank, they get what we call as a Smile score. But important part is not in improving that score. I mean, it's an outcome. Important part is whosoever is a detractor. Every detractor in the bank by the respective team is called back, engaged with, and then we measure the score again, which is called the resolution effectiveness, right? And the last time, I think 2 years back, prior to COVID, when I interacted with you, some of you asked me the score. We still would not like to share our internal scores. So what we discussed is, this is an external benchmarking by Prism. This is about the NPS, and this is for savings right now. And something seems to be moving positively for us, but we do believe we have more work in this. And I think the vision that we've expressed here is that our benchmark is not just financial services, but we really want to be best, not just best in class, but best across industries and across brands. But there's an external benchmarking that tells us how we are moving. This is about digital transformation that we spoke about. So branches will become paperless, are becoming paperless, right? 3 years back, we used to have some 67 registers where some entries would be made. That has come down to more than half. Next 6 months, we want to wipe out every single register for making notes and notings down. Every single branch, whether urban, rural, deep rural, is enabled through 2 or 3 biometric devices. Obviously, customer consent is mandatory, so it is voluntary use. I'll still underscore that. But it's important that every branch is enabled with that. We're bringing in e-sign for legal documentation, automating all branch journeys. And we built a base service process, right? All the platforms that we spoke about, the Digi Self-Care, which means that if there's a pay, save, invest, insure journey, the simple block there is also care. And within care, if you want to raise a service, complaint, feedback about anything, within mobile app, within WhatsApp banking, with a simple QR code, or by walking into branch, one could do that very simply. We've reimagined our CRM. There's a mobile on the go CRM that we have given to all our teams. Obviously, virtual teams operate out of a fixed space, but all the rest teams that operate out of that, it gives them convenience of working out of anywhere working, so that it becomes convenient, makes teams a lot more efficient. Walkout working journey, it essentially means that when you come to my physical or digital store or the digital store, which is website, by the time you go out of that, your process should be done. Let me give you an example. Address change journey. We had a process in our net banking 2 years back where you go to there, fill a form, not so simple, a little bit complex, fill it up, it goes to the back end, somebody checks it, and within a matter of 2 days we process it, right? Now we put up a simple walkout working journey. We'll just use your Aadhaar authentication process and puts the same address. 2 advantages. One, it makes it real time, because by the time customer is going out of the branch, it is done. What is the second advantage? Second advantage is I don't need the guy at the back end checking things and so on and so forth. So my cost goes away, right? We'll just play a small video what happened when, can you play the video? What happened when we rolled out the address change journey.
Hi, I'm Rashida Sharma, and I've been a customer of HDFC Bank for more than a decade now. So I visited the branch today, Zirakpur HDFC branch, because I had to get my address changed on my savings account. So the manager of the branch, Mr. Varun Kapoor, and the concerned staff, they helped me, and I could change my address, update it on real-time basis using the Wow Journey app. And I am really thankful. I am so elated that I could do it like within a second. Thank you so much.
So the important thing was that while she was walking out of the door, the address was changed in the system. No TAT, nothing. You know, like you had an ad, fill it, shut it, forget it. So just get done away with. That is the walkout working journey. And this walkout working journey right now available as standalone journeys, right? But the same thing is going to come in form of a QR code. The same thing will be in the net banking that Anjali spoke about. The same thing will be part of our WhatsApp banking, right? So very soon, in 3 to 6 months' time, you'll see all branches having QR codes, some of the ATMs having QR codes, some of our corporate centers having QR codes. All this journey will be available there, right? Because you know, if you have to go to Rome, does one road go to Rome, right? There are 5 roads go to Rome. Anybody's preference, whatever road they want to take. Somebody wants to come to the branch, somebody wants to just do it, you know, from a QR and so on and so forth. So that's what we're going to be doing, and make it really, really simple if you have to, you know, achieve that vision that we spoke about. I'm going to just breeze through this Insta account journeys, the way we have this, and the number that Parag mentioned, 67%, that is for total number of accounts. Right now we have 56% if you take only full KYC accounts, because from business point of view, that's what we track, full KYC account, because that shows the level of involvement that the customer sort of has with us. And we are going to be having a similar journey or Insta current account, integrated journey. So all the auto circle, etc., we are seeing, you know, we spoke about that if you don't have the savings account with the bank, you can still go through that journey. But we can always give the option of opening a savings account through this Insta account, isn't it? And if you do that, imagine the power, multiplier effect of the power of these platforms that we are building. So here you're going to an auto loan and an auto circle or a Vyapar Smart Hub, right? So our current account journey that we're building here will get integrated into Vyapar as well. And this is the crisscross of mesh that we create, that, you know, whichever platform you go to, you know, we help customer to serve in the best possible manner, you know, get his liabilities relationship as well. But this is something we have to work out, Anjali. That's a action area that we have to do. So we'll catch up on that. Business Express. So there is a retail customer, there is a corporate customer. We already have the eNet and CBX at the top end, but this is a simple app, whether it is for, you know, GST payments, for tracking payables, simple cash flow management thing, or just making bulk salary payments, right? You open a new startup, you want to make bulk salary payment, right? So this is the app and platform for that. This should also be out in next 4 to 6 months as part of our phygital transformation of the complete retail part. I touched upon this Lifecycle, life-centric, insight-based propositions. All the segments that we spoke about, you know, these are all based on some or the other customer insights. Right? My account, my choice. Can anybody guess what is the book size on my account, my choice? I had it in the presentation, then I realized it's going to be on the website. We don't want our competitors to know about it, so don't tell them. But can you guess what is our my account? My account, my choice is all about, you know, customer choosing an account number that he likes, may add up to a numerology number of 9, or his daughter's birthday being part of this number or whatever, right? We rolled it out, I think, Sampath, when you were looking after product, and today the book size is 25,000 crore. Can you imagine? 30% of that is existing customers, 70% that is all new customers. But even existing customers, if somebody had an affinity for a number 9 or his daughter's birthday in his savings account number, do you think his customer lifetime value will be more or less? Think about it, you'll get the answer. Then you'll figure out where is our competitive advantage, and we are sharing our book in a little bit of open manner here, right? Why we have delivered this 2x growth in last 3 years, and why we are extremely confident that we'll do 2x growth in next 3.5 years, right? Super premium savings account, where lifestyle is the insight. Super premium kids account, right? All of these have 5x the normal ATS, because there we have tie-ups with the Byju's for a easy education, or a Jamboree tie-up where people who want to go abroad, you know, we give them counseling sessions through that. Even FD, which is a very commoditized category. But what's the insight? The insight is safety, right? But if I add in a term cover, a little bit of that, or a hospicash, which beyond the health insurance the customer may have, we give him, let's say, 1,000 rupees on his unfortunate incident of hospitalization. What are we addressing? It's not just packaging of some two commodities together. It's addressing the insight of safety, right? Switch to save and insure. But this is just a glimpse. All the segments we spoke about, we're working on a doctor's product, we're working on other product. Segment-led go-to-market and segment-led life-centric, insight-focused proposition. It is these two things sort of coming together to come. Rural, we briefly touched upon it. The opportunity is massive, as you see on the left side. Our shares are just about 9% on deposits and 18% on credit. And the opportunity is about 26 lakhs crore of deposit and 15 lakhs crore of credit. And we have 6 key levers of our rural growth pillars, right? Distribution expansion is one, a unique and a focused rural relationship architecture, right? And really be able to engage the Pradhanji and the Sarpanch and the Mukhias and so on and so forth in a differentiated manner, because a corporate hedge honcho requires a different way to treat rural seniors would require a different way. Curated rural proposition, should we have a customized set of surrogates for rural credit? How do we evolve propositions? We are looking at a rural opinion leader program. There are 67 agriculture universities in the country, and we are looking at partnering with each one of them, one per state, looking at how do we, one, work with the agriculture universities for their salaries and payment collection and so on and so forth, but using them in our financial inclusion theme, in the other agri or other rural ecosystem value-add programs that they do, and take them along with us, because they can really provide life-centric value addition to this rural audience. And some innovations on shopper activation, bank on wheels, and Sarpanch Samman Samarohs and stuff like that, so that we bring out that differentially. So this is something that we want to grow 2x in next 18 to 20 months, right? And we believe that this is eminently possible. So this is the, I think, second last slide. So retail deposits, we have grown consistently to more than 2x the industry growth on everything that you look at. And again, this is retail deposits. So current, if the industry is growing at 13%, we have grown at 24%, some savings 28%, even on term deposits. While at bank level, we may have a 7, 8, 9% growth, but the retail has grown by 21%, right? If I compare to peer banks, we have done much worse on the bulk deposits, which are rate sensitive, but we have done much better on the granular deposit. But still at 15% penetration, the runway of growth is massive, right? And retail CASA is 2x in 3 years, and total deposits is roughly about 10.6 lakh crore book, 1.9x in 3 years, growing market shares, and not just the growth dispersion. 90% of the districts where bank has a presence, we have grown our market share. 90% districts, right? So it's not that the growth is coming from 1, 2, or 3 places, right? That validates that how well this the engine that we have built and improved further with superior customer experience, superior building a service first approach, and a phygital approach is sort of helping us. So I think these are some of our ambitions. 12 million new annualized run rate in next 12, 15, 18 months. Be the best customer experience brand. Continuously grow 2x or more than 2x the industry growth rate. Double the rural business in 24 to 30 months. Analytics-led focus, the NBA that we spoke about, and the further layers of whether it is incredible NBA and the immediate NBA. Phygital transformation of branches, and branches no longer will remain branches. There will be phygital hotspots in multiple formats, SBLs, DBUs, and phygital hotspots. And yes, we're going to deliver 2x deposit franchise growth, which is an outcome of all of this, rather than trying to do it directly in next 3.5 years. Yeah. So I guess that's all from my side. We'll take up questions once Sampath and Smita have gone through their sessions. Next presentation, Smita. You want to click?